welcome back to Artventure from the Universe. I'm Tuni, your host. Get ready with me to explore the art adventures of some widely known experts in different creative fields in Australia. And today's guest has been working in the entertainment industry for over 30 years. Starting his career in musical theatre, he soon became one of Australia's most versatile and sought-after choreographers. And some of his widely known projects are So You Think You Can Dance, Dancing with the Stars, and the feature film Peter Rabbit 2. And I'm talking about Cameron Mitchell. Welcome!
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our honor.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah. And do you know, we are the YOUniverse podcast and we come from Vietnam. Have you ever been to Vietnam?
I haven't. It's on my bucket list.
Sure.
I have friends that have gone and they come back and they had such a wonderful time. I need to do more traveling.
Yes. And especially Hanoi, Vietnam. Because that's where the universe is, people. Okay, so let's go down the memory lane a little bit. At what age did you first learn dancing?
I started in a dancing school in Adelaide when I was 4.
Really?
About 4 and a half, yeah.
Seriously?
Yes. So
I think,
people can do their own mathematics if they want to they work out how long I've been doing it. But 4 years old.
Wow. How did you, how come?
There's 2 reasons, combination of things. One is that I was obsessed with, as a child, as a little child, I was obsessed with the pop group ABBA.
Oh.
And I would dance around the house and beg people to put the songs on the record player. And then, luckily, my dad took me to the ABBA concert when I was 3 and a half.
Yeah, wow.
And I just stood on the chair and danced the whole time, apparently. And my dad went home and they decided that they would put me into dancing lessons.
Aww.
And the other reason is because secretly my dad always wanted to be a tap dancer.
Oh.
But he came from a little town near Glasgow, Scotland. So there wasn't much call in the 50s for a boy to do dancing in that area. So I sort of was very lucky. My dad wanted to be a tap dancer and I came out of the womb dancing. So I think that was a good combination. They were like, well, get him into dance lessons.
Well, I bet that you did dance to Dancing Queen at the time. You can dance.
Yes, well, originally.
You can try, living the time of your life.
Ooh, I'm in a different key, but yes, I would dance to Dancing Queen and Ring Ring and Waterloo, and I was obsessed in everything in my life. If I latch onto something, I obsess by it, and I have to know everything about it. Whether it's something to my dancing or even pop groups or whatever, I'm an all-in type person.
Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. Like you knew what to do when you were very, very young. I think I was like potty training when I was 4. And
well, I was just. I think with a lot of people in the arts, you just are, naturally inclined, or physiologically inclined, biologically, whatever it is, neurologically, to do that. And I now, it's many years later. I mean, I'm, nearly pushing 50, but
okay.
So there's a lot of years. But I just started out with tap and jazz at the local school in a church, and my, once a week or twice a week, and it was just what I was meant to do. And I say it now when I teach, no matter what other aspects of the industry I've done or what I moved into, I always, at the core of me, I'm a dancer.
Yeah. So you just said that jazz was the first type of dance.
Jazz and tap. Tap dancing and jazz dancing. But it sort of evolved from there because when I was about 8, my mum took me to see The Sound of Music. Mm-hmm. It was touring, and I saw a musical theatre production for the first time, and with the sets and the costumes and the changing of everything. And I left there so enamoured by the production, and I was a bit of a precocious child as well, and I always acted like an adult. So I would sit and read the paper at the table at my grandmother's house, or I would, drink tea, all that, and just thinking I was 40 then when I was only 9 or 8. And I read in the paper that the people that did Sound of Music were bringing the musical Oliver and needed boys from the ages of 8 to 15. And I took that through to my parents and said, I'm going to be in that.
Wow.
And so, as you do when you're 8. And then
Did you
I
finally
auditioned.
be in that?
I did.
Oh my God.
So I auditioned with hundreds of other boys. We stood up. We stood in a line waiting to get in, like the old days. It was a cattle call, as they called it. And I sang "Puttin' on the Ritz" on the stage. It was 1983, but I stood on the stage and sang it out to a black nothing. And then I heard a microphone say, "Can you come back tomorrow?" Went back and did the second round, and then they told us that day that we got it. So then I got my equity number and got my first pay packet, and
wow,
that started me off. Yeah. So that's actually 40 years ago this year.
Oh my God, 40 years. What a number.
Yeah.
And during those 40 years, what else have you done?
Well, from there, I met somebody on that show that went to a different dancing school, and I went and watched their dancing school concert, and they did everything. They did jazz, tap, classical ballet, all the different styles, different national styles, and song and dance, song and tap. And for a year, I bugged my mum to let me go there. And then she always taught me a very sense of loyalty, and she thought, well, my dance teacher that I was already with had got me to that point, got me into a professional musical, and that I had to be loyal to her. And then by the YOUniverse, somehow at the end of that year, she closed the dancing school. So I got to go to the other school, and that from overnight I went from doing 2 days a week to 5 days a week. 4 afternoons and a all-day Saturday thing, and did every style of dance. And I still did some operas, and I did a couple of other musicals, and started doing radio commercials as a child.
Oh.
And then I, got older, and I, as I said, when I was young, it was confidence, confidence, confidence.
Yes, yes.
Unbeknownst to me, I went for an audition for the musical 9, and I usually was very confident. I would just go in, they'd give the sheet music, I'd sing it, whatever. And unbeknownst to me, when we went down to do the thing, my voice had broken. Oops. And I didn't know.
Okay.
And I went, so it was like overnight I went from a voice soprano to a tenor still, but I was singing a different range that I didn't know how to sing in. Yeah. So I ran up the stairs, grabbed my mother, and ran out the door, and didn't audition for another musical for 7 years.
Wow.
That's a lie. 7 years, 6 or 7, 6 or 7, and was concentrated on my dancing. So that's where I really pushed my my training in the dance side of things. And and then I went on, finished school. I finished school quite young. I finished year 12 when I was 16. And in 1990, there was nothing in Adelaide if you wanted to get into the commercial musical theatre or commercial dance world. So it's kind of cliched, but at the age of 16, my mum and dad put me on a plane, and I flew to Sydney. I'd never been here before. Oh. I didn't know anyone. I went and stayed with a friend of a friend, and forged my way, and different things happened. I went home for a little while, ended up moving to Melbourne. I met some people on a job, moved to Melbourne, and did some full-time dance training at the Dance Factory in Melbourne for a year, and earned my money by working in a theatre restaurant in Tullamarine, and and just auditioned and stuff, and then ended up getting another. I built my voice up again during that time. Ended up, the story is, I keep saying what I've been doing since then is, because I said it's 40 years, but just to get into the next part of it, you struggle so much as a dancer, a singer, or an actor when you first finish your training you want everything now. Yeah. You want to leave training and you want to do show after show after show, or job after job after job.
Yes.
And because, of course, when you're young, you don't realise that you can relax and just keep working and just be patient. If you want it and you work hard enough, you will get there.
Yeah.
But of course, this one day I had a bit of a mental breakdown. It was
Aw.
like, oh, and it's never going to happen for me. And I got on a bus and went overnight back home to Adelaide, turned up on my parents' door at 6 a.m. And they were like, why are you here?
Okay.
And I was like, oh, doing all that stuff. And then I heard my dad say to my mother, he's going back. My mum was like, but he doesn't want to go back. And my dad said, if we do not send him back, he'll never go back. And this is his dream and this is what he wants to do. But then by luck would have it, the phone rang that afternoon at my parents' house, and it was my agent telling me that I got into West Side Story.
Oh my
Play
God,
Baby John in West Side
that's a
Story
big thing.
At my parents. So it was another thing I talk about YOUniverse. I was like, I was meant to go home and get my first musical since that day when I ran out at home with my family. So it was really nice. So, and I've done other shows since then, some musicals, and dabbled in choreography, and then back to musicals, and did some film, and lots of different things, I guess.
Yes.
To get me here.
You know, like your story about when your voice broke, it just reminds me of many successful child stars. They were doing very good, and then puberty happened, or other stuff happened, like the temptation of money and fame, and then suddenly they get a failure, and then some of them were not strong enough to like overcome that. But for you, like you chose another path. So like you couldn't sing at that time, so you turned to dancing. So
well,
like there are choices.
luckily I was already doing that as well. So
Yes,
I'm
that's
lucky
true.
that for people always say this, but for my backup, I had dancing. I mean, I never really got over that day as a vocalist, as a singer. My fear of singing stayed with me all the way through, even though I did a lot more shows. But yeah, I was lucky, and I thought, because it was all I ever, there was no second, I was going to be in this industry. There was no doubt in my mind.
Yes. So I think that the key point here is like you know what you want to do, and like you fight your way for it.
I say that to everyone, and I mean, I've seen a lot of other artists in interviews talk about it too, and I always said it, and my dad said it to my principal at school once, when my principal said, well, what would he do if he didn't do this? And my dad said, but he is doing this. He doesn't have any doubt in his mind. And that's the thing, when people say, what advice could you give anyone about how to get into the industry and how to stay in the industry and to keep it? And I said, there is no advice, because in your soul of souls, there is no, you're guided by your hunger for it. So though anyone that ever has any doubt whether I don't know if I want to do it, then they shouldn't do it, because it's too hard. It's too hard a business,
Yeah.
But if you really want to do it, never let anybody tell you you can't.
Yeah.
That's the opposite side.
You just said that it's just too hard. The industry is too hard. Everybody knows that. But how hard is it actually? Like,
when I say it's too hard, I say it's too hard. You have to work. You have to constantly evolve. You have to constantly listen. You have to constantly update yourself. Keep ahead of the game. And that's what I mean. Hard work is that it's called work for a reason. It's like nobody becomes a doctor because that's just something they did during their school years. I don't know. And why is the entertainment industry any different? Why should you not have to work hard to achieve your goals? And that's like with anything. To feel fulfillment, you have to work at it. And so that's what I mean by it's hard work. So if you doubt that you maybe don't want to do this, you probably don't. You should probably go and find something else that you're truly passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean by it's hard.
So it's passion and it's hard work. But what about the industry, like the environment? Because, of course, your internal strength is important, but also there are many other aspects that might affect your strong will.
Yes. I talk about these things as well, as that the voices in our head that get in the way of of doing it. And, fear of doing wrong or fitting in the industry, or, I think it just... it is hard. I'm sorry, I got off the rail again. What was the question again? I just was like, that was too much like the last one.
Because like many young viewers are watching. So I just want them to know a little more details about the challenges that they might face when they are like, I know that they are passionate and they are determined to enter the industry, but what else do they have to know?
It's navigating the knockbacks, getting told no, or auditioning for something and not getting through. And I really do believe, though, that you have to use those experiences. And I do it with my teaching now. I teach a class every week for professional dancers, or ones that are especially starting out in the business, and say you need to be honest with yourself and the experience. So you got to really trust as well that whenever you go into an audition or wherever you go to anything, nobody wants you to be not good. No one's actually there to go, right, hopefully this person's not good so I can feel this about them. They want you to be good. And if you're not right for it, that's the reason why you get knocked back. Or you didn't sing well that day, or you didn't dance it as well, you didn't pick up the choreography as well as you could, you made mistakes, you didn't perform it enough. Be honest with yourself. I guess that's the real advice I give, and sometimes it can take years.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I did a lot of different things in the industry. I always taught, so I always had that for financial stability.
Yeah.
I did sing and act as well as dance, but all I ever wanted to be was a choreographer. From when I was young, at my high school, I convinced them to let me choreograph the numbers in the. I went to a school that had performing arts, and we would tour regionally. And I convinced them to let me choreograph the entire show. As I said, I was a lot more confident back then. And I would say that all I ever wanted to be was a choreographer and choreograph a musical. So as I said, my first job was at 9 years old, and then I went through being a dancer in musicals, everything like that. I ran Brent Street Studios for a while in Sydney. I choreographed on a TV show called High Five, but I didn't choreograph my first musical until 2015. So I was 41.
Wow.
So, that was my ultimate dream. Sometimes I thought it was never going to happen. And sometimes I say to myself, maybe this isn't what you're supposed to do. Maybe teaching is what you're supposed to do. Maybe giving back and passing on, which I still do. I never stop doing that. I never will. But my ultimate dream started when I was 41. So my advice is, if you want it that much and you love it that much, other things might happen in between.
Yes.
But if you keep that dream, sometime, somewhere, it'll happen in some way.
Yes. I think I told my students the same thing. I also teach singing. That just reminds me of that moment when I told them, like, if you keep that dream, if you keep raising, nurturing that dream, somehow it'll happen.
Hold on to it and believe in yourself always, no matter how many knockbacks you get. It may not be the ultimate thing. I say always dream really high, because then you've always got something to keep going for. Because once you fulfill that one dream, if you don't have something else to achieve, there's nowhere else to go. So, sometimes people will say, I just want to dance for Beyonce. Now, that may never happen, but you may dance for other artists.
Yes.
And, may not end up with Beyonce, but dream big, because then you've always got steps to get to that. We may never get to that very end, but
we'll achieve something else.
Just if you love something that much, never stop. And I say that to some dancers as well, that they also might be very intelligent. I'm not saying the dancers aren't intelligent, but they might also be a doctor.
Yeah.
I know one of the best dancers in the industry, in the musical theatre, is also a veterinarian.
Wow.
And
which is like, I don't see any link.
The two ends of but he went and did that degree first, but the passion to always dance is always there. So then he went and trained as a dancer.
Yeah.
And now he's been in lots of musicals.
Yeah.
And also in his breaks in between, he works as a vet. So
okay.
That's a different thing as well. But that's a thing of like, I could do this, but I have this dream too. So I'm passionate about it. And when someone's that passionate, they can make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the not getting callback challenge. Is there any specific story of yours, like aside from that story when you came back home and cry about it? Is there any other example, like when you didn't get callback and you learned something from it and you improve from it?
If I'm going to be really an honest person, I very rarely didn't get a callback. No, but hear me out. That and this is a really I learned something on this, that I would get right to the end as well. And so there's people that feel like I just get cut all the time. And then there's other people that said I always get to the end of the audition process and never book the job. Yeah. And then there's the ones that always get the job. But that wasn't me. I always would get to the end before West Side Story, and then I would not get the job. Or I'd be certain I was going to get it. And they were so positive. Yeah. And that happened all the way up until I was 34. I just came out of the musical Spamalot, and Billy Elliot was hiring, and I got called back, and then called back by myself and spent hours with the the director and the choreographer. And then I saw them out one night. They were like, see you soon. I was like, I have the job. Yeah. Then I didn't get it. But
that must have been devastating, you know?
What's even more devastating about that one is I got the phone call from my agent as I was walking in to watch the show. So I was walking in with my ticket in my hand to go and see Billy Elliot, and my phone rang, and my agent said, you didn't get it.
So did you still see that show?
I still went in and watched it. Okay. Yeah. But that happens. But why? I had to go and say, why didn't I get that? What was the reason why I got cut? You know, the one show that I did not get called back for was Peter Pan. Mm-hmm. And it was really good for me to go in and do that dance call and get cut, because I needed to learn that. Okay. Because I needed to, as an educator and a dance mentor, it taught me that, you know. I think that, it taught me, number one, never be too cocky. Okay. Never be too cocky. Always be present. I think I wasn't present enough, you know, in the audition. I wasn't working hard enough, and I got cut. Mm-hmm. And it was, I went home like, why? And then I went through all that. Why did I get cut? What were the reasons? Because there had to be a reason. Yeah. So you have to be honest about that. I mean, there's a lot of people that come out of auditions and stuff and say, I can't believe they got through and I didn't. Mm. And I said, are you being honest with yourself as to why they did? Because there's got to be a reason why.
Wow, yeah. Yeah. So, like, I think there are many failure stories, you know, but if you can learn from those, then, of course, you grow up every day. And
you have to learn from everything, the good and the bad. You know, I say you have to learn from the downside of this business and the complete highs, and you have to keep them with you in your memory bank. You know, so I always say I need to watch good shows and bad shows, because you learn from the bad shows just as much as you learn from the good shows as a creative person, what to do and what not to do. Yeah. So that's with the failure as well. We learn a lot from our failures, and they make us better people.
Well, very good advice. Your story was like, because you were passionate about dancing when you were very young, and then you were confident, and you kept getting jobs, and you failed because of your overconfidence. Something like that.
Sometimes people do, yeah.
But there are also other people who are not confident enough, you know, especially in Vietnam. Like, of course, young people now are more capable and they are more confident of themselves. But like the dancing industry in Vietnam is quite competitive as well. And aside from famous dance crews, there are also individuals who are struggling to make a name for themselves. So do you have any advice for them? Like those who are not 100% confident about themselves.
In 2023?
Yeah.
Okay. This is something I was like, right, how am I going to word this? Do your research away from your phone. Go online, go onto YouTube and look at people that worked decades before.
Yes.
and how your style evolved. If you're a hip hop dancer, where it began and to where it is now, not just where it is now. Don't just watch the crews and the people now. Learn your craft. Learn where it evolved, where it started. Same with musical theatre and commercial dance. There's so many. I have experiences of students that come to me at the age of 18 that know nothing about what came before them. They wouldn't know one musical theatre or commercial dancer from the 90s or the early 2000s, but they know everybody who's now, because they think that the phone and the Instagram and TikTok, because there's so much emphasis on being popular now as to where are you going to be in 10 years, would you like to be in 15 years. Okay, I would like to still be doing this in 20 years. Which dancers should I be looking at that have lasted 20 years, and what did they do in their career to keep them there? That's my advice with that. It's too much on the now and not about another 20 years from now. How do I become one of the greatest dancers, and how do I make my mark?
Yeah, I think like that's like a wake-up call, because you know about YOLO. You only live once. People, like young people now, like they tend to live in the moment, and so I think what you just said is like a wake-up call to them. Like you focus on what's going on, but you also need to focus on the development.
Do you know what? If anything, for myself, as someone that has been doing it for 40 years, the TikTok is better for me. And Instagram is better for me to keep up with the current trend.
Yes.
Whereas for the kids, they need to look at what came before them and go back in time. So it's weird. As much they make fun back at me, you know. Well, you're on TikTok and you know what's going on and you know the current things. I said that's why it's actually a good tool for me to stay current and stay part of the industry. Whereas for you guys, you need to do your research.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're young and you're watching now, well, put away your phone after you watch this podcast, show, okay?
Oh, but you know, it's great. I love watching what they're doing. I love when it's good, you know. I don't just want to see smooth and sticky, whatever the song is, that or whatever, like people doing it, like, but there's a lot of really great content that is current, but you've got to also branch out.
Yes. Okay, so let's get back to the choreography thing. It's like I kind of feel like all the dancers, like they have to start at learning how to dance first, and then when they get good at it, and then they slowly transition into choreography. But what's the difference between a dancer and a choreographer?
There's a lot. Because there's so many dancers.
Yes.
But you know what? I look in different ways. There's people that dance, and then there are dancers. Then there are people that teach, and then there are choreographers.
Okay.
Or there are dancers, and then there are choreographers. It's so nuanced. And you can just tell, because it really, at the end of the day, is something you don't have to think much about when you are a master at your craft, or something you're meant to do. It's, you know, so with choreography, it's something that I just always naturally did. And you can see that in a lot of people's work, because in any art form, it doesn't come from the brain. It comes from the soul. It comes from the pit of your stomach. It's something that you can feel completely down. That's why with acting, they say you've got to dig deeper. Well, you're not digging into your brain deeper. You're digging into your soul. You're digging into your feelings. It's like every feeling that you get, you can feel in the pit of your stomach.
Yes.
And that's where it all evolves from. So I think that's the same with choreography.
Yes.
There's too many people that are making up dance steps.
Yes.
But they're not choreographing. Because choreographing comes from emotion.
Yeah.
And dance steps come from watching something in the mirror and doing shapes.
Yes.
If I can, for a better way of looking at it. So with dancers that are wanting to go into choreography, it's the same thing. So too many dancers are already, you know, not with judgment, but say they're 20 years old and they say to me, I really want to move into choreography. I'm like, learn the craft, Learn your way through, learn from other choreographers, find out what sort of choreographer you are at home, making your stuff up at home, working on students as if you teach in dancing schools, and become a choreographer. Don't just decide today, I want to be a choreographer. You need to become one. You need to evolve into one. And sometimes they already are. Sometimes at 20 they are. But those ones aren't asking me.
Yeah. Okay, so emotions, yeah, it's a key because, emotion sets us apart from, like we're human or we're dancing machines, right? Because we have emotions. So,
Yes.
yeah, I know. Okay.
And I think as well when I say that, how do I become a choreographer, or that's the different question is, how do I move into choreography? Like, how do I get into the business? How do I get people to give me a chance? It's different to how do I become a choreographer? Because at your core, you already are one, if you are one.
Yeah. So how do you get to the industry?
Well, I think it's because it's into the choreography industry.
Yes, choreography industry.
Look, I think it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. How I got into it was that I always taught, and then that my agent got a job, or they'd seen some of my work, and they're like, "That's really good." Somebody says, "I've seen that person." Sometimes it's getting into the business and learn, sort of navigating your way through it, and someone seeing your work. Nowadays, it's a lot better because you can put stuff on the internet.
Yes.
You can get a group of dancers together and make something up and make a great video and then put it online and people can see it that way. So it is a lot easier now, I think. Well,
So
it's easier to be seen. It's not as easy to be a choreographer. I'm not saying that people are getting it easier than we did.
Yeah, easier to be seen.
Because people, if you are good, you're good.
Yeah. So just keep doing your thing, and if you're really good, someone will see that, right? And someone will reach out to you.
Hopefully, yeah. But sometimes people do have to work to get it into people's faces.
Of course, yeah.
Put on, I was like, look, for all the work that I've done and how long I've been in it, I do feel very lucky. So even a question like that, I'd have to go back into my files in my head and go, how did that happen? But it sort of was word of mouth and people seeing things. Now we are lucky. We get to put stuff online and get seen places, and and a lot of stuff is. A lot of people are like, they say, we need a choreographer, and someone says, let's find Sally or Susie or something. I'm just pulling a name out, and they go, have you got anything? Is there anything online that they have so I can look at it? You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to invite people to a theatre to see your work anymore because we can see it online. But that's a long answer, but.
But I think you keep saying you're lucky, but I think the success is 99% hard work and just 1% lucky. So if you're good enough and you work very hard, that luck will definitely happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, also lucky is also a nuanced word, because you can say, I'm so lucky. That's almost, it doesn't have to mean that you don't actually deserve to be.
Of course.
Sometimes people say, they're lucky. It depends how you say the word. I just always feel very lucky that I get, or grateful and lucky that I get to do this. And I'm the sort of person that reflects all the time, and I would just be sitting there and, thinking about what I've done or achieved, and I feel lucky in that respect. Yeah.
You feel blessed, I think.
Blessed is a better word.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And you're also a director.
Now I am, yeah.
Yeah.
In the last 4 years.
So what about it? Tell us about it.
Sometimes I make a joke and people say, how did you know you could go into directing? And I was like, because I just always was really good at being bossy. But no, I think it's the nurturing aspect that I actually had as a choreographer and a teacher, and working to bring, and also as the best dancers also are great actors, because it always looks like there's something behind the step. And I was so obsessed with that, that something meant something. And when I rewind all the way back to 1983, 84, when I did Oliver, I used to, I lied to my parents and said that I had to go to the understudy calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because I saw on the board that people were coming on those days. And in the 80s, there was no one checking on what the kids were doing. So I just used to get dropped off, and I used to go and sit in the audience and watch the process. And I was always obsessed with how the director worked with the actor and the way that the show evolved and went through. And when I was doing a show called Mac and Mabel, somebody said to me, I think you'd be really good at directing.
Oh.
And of course it was a secret dream, but as a dancer in this industry, you have, in the way that everything is, there's the dancers, there's the singers, and then there's the actors.
Yeah.
And that's the tier. So when you're a dancer and your soul and heart, and you and I, it wasn't something I ever really said out loud. I had it in my heart, in my mind, going, deep down. I was like, just one day, wouldn't it be great to be able to do that? And it was a dream, not one I ever said out loud. Then someone said, you should do this, and then a producer said, what show would you really like to do? I was very blessed, and I said, I'd really like to do Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
And then the next couple of days later, they rang me and said, we've got the rights, and I've spoken to the Hayes, and we've pitched it, and we can do it. And I fell off my chair. I was like, what? And then I did it. It was really successful. It went really well, and I got to work with some great actors.
Yes.
And then the pandemic hit, and so it was actually I was very lucky, because there was so much pressure after Catch Me If You Can. People say, what are you going to do next? How are you going to do it? What's going to be? And so I got some time to think about it and to just digest the experience. And so now I've done 4 or 5 shows.
Yeah.
And this year I won Best Director at the Sydney Theatre Awards. So that's sort of like, wow, for a dancer from Adelaide.
Yes.
It's they're blessed.
It's something, yeah. It's really something. It's a big milestone.
Remember I said about those dreams and the mountains, and
It's
then wanted to choreograph a musical, and I did that, and I choreographed some shows, and then it was sort of like, now you have this to try and work at. So when you do those things, that's what I mean. Working hard is when you achieve it, there's such a sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
When you get anything too quick, people say to me, do you regret not having choreographed when you were younger, or what would you have done when you had directed when you were in your early 20s or mid-20s? And I said, then I would have done it. I wouldn't probably be doing it maybe this long, because I would have achieved it. And somebody else would come with their dreams, and I don't know. I just feel so grateful and happy.
I think everything happened for a reason,
At the end of the day.
Yeah. So your journey is, I think, it has ups and downs, but it's really beautiful. And I'm sure that our young audience would like to learn more from you professionally. So can you share with us your process, your creative process of choreography when you approach one topic? Maybe is there any specific example you can share with us about that?
It depends what the project is. So I've done so many different things. I did a TV show called High Five. I choreographed for them when I was first starting out as a choreographer. And that was all very for the children. And so you have to know the songs for me, whether it's that or whether it's a corporate job with a singer with backing dancers, or whether it is a musical theatre. With musical theatre, the scene is there and it's set up by the character. But essentially at the core for me, it all starts with the music and how the music makes me feel and what the music tells I instinctively feel I have to do. I never go with you can never start with the step. That's like putting any words from any other song over the top of another song.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Because if it's going to come from where we said everything should come from before, if it's going to have to start with that, how does that make you feel? And I very rarely, until I get in a room with the dancer, I very rarely do it on my feet. It's all in my imagination and my feeling.
Yeah.
And I'll write some things down sometimes,
Okay.
or I will, because I then get in the room and I put it on its feet and I watch myself as well as the other dancer. Because also what it looks like on me or how I feel may not necessarily work on the people I'm working with. So I'm very much about it has to look, well, at the end of the day, it has to look good on the person that's going to do it on the stage.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it looks like you don't know what you're doing, or it looks bad. So you can't use the excuse of, well, if I was doing it on another person, it would look good. So there's so many different aspects to it, but for me, it's all emotion and it's all feeling.
Yeah.
As opposed to steps.
So you listen to the music, you get the feelings first, you imagine the routines in your mind, and then you instruct those to the dancers, and of course there will be customization.
Always. That's the way I work.
Yeah.
This is just me. This isn't I'm not saying this is the right way.
Okay.
There is no right and wrong way,
Yeah.
because everybody has their own process. One of the greatest choreographers in our country, Kelly Abbey, she does it all in her mind too, and she does it out, and it's all worked out, and it's all worked out from, she can see it in her head. She's really great at that. And I used to think that I had to work like her, because to me she was my idol. She's perfection in my eyes. So I thought, but then I went, oh no, that's not my process. My process is my process. So everybody's different.
Yes.
But my advice to people that want to choreograph, don't think you have to do my process, because it might not work for you.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, you'll just be emulating my ways. So, but I still think it starts with the music, no matter who you are.
Yes, I agree.
Or the emotion. Even if you're choreographing without music, then the music evokes the emotion, evokes the step. So if you do it without music, it's just the emotion evokes the step. So I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good process. So about dancing, sometimes you don't dance alone. You dance with other people. You have to work with other people. How do you handle teamwork in dancing? Because sometimes people might feel like I want the spotlight. I'm the best dancer, But the thing is, in this industry, we work together.
I think you've even you've put it in a nutshell. You have to work with others. You're not even the best leading players are the ones that get on the best with the ensemble, I think, because the camaraderie, the feeling. You've got to go on stage and act with these people. You have to be with them in a long time. I don't know. I just
is there?
If you always feel like you have to be the most important person in the room, it makes other people uncomfortable. It's not a nice place to be. And more often than not, those people that were like that when I was starting out, but as an adult, say when I was 19, 20, they're no longer working.
Oh.
Because they weren't in it for the industry itself. They weren't in it for, don't just be in it for yourself. Be in it for the fact that you as yourself love doing this job.
Oh, yeah.
So if you feel like you have to be the most important person, you don't care about others around you.
Yeah, so basically don't be in it to be popular, but be in it because you want to be in it. You love to be in it.
Yeah, and there's a misconception there too about the popular thing.
Okay.
I need to be with the popular people. I need to work, the ones that are cool now, I want to be with them. But the cool people, that style and everything goes out of fashion.
Yeah.
So if you want to be in here for a long time, and I coined a phrase actually a couple of years ago that said, to be cool and popular is now, but to be fabulous is forever.
Wow.
So
words to live with.
You can, to be classic and to be classy and be fabulous, it's got such a longer time span.
Yes.
But to be popular and current, it's like high school.
Yeah.
It's the Mean Girls thing. You know, it's Clueless, it's Mean Girls, it's Heathers. It's the same thing. It's all those teenage movies that we all grew up on, because they continuously make more teenage films. But if you go back and watch the teenage film from the 80s, it's dated. It has to be updated all the time. It never stays. But when you watch a classic movie, it stands the test of time.
Yes.
So it's same with being popular.
So was there any collaboration that that was challenging to you in terms of team working? Like you couldn't agree with with everybody else, and you had to fight for your ideas, and you have to learn how to balance your ideas and other people's ideas.
Sorry, I laughed because I was like, oh, I've got to be careful what I say here. I got a bit frightened for a second.
This
look,
is a
I don't
tricky
really,
question.
very rarely with myself, I think that's another reason that I've been here this long, is that I like it to get along. Confrontation's not good for me. I would, if I did have a come to a loggerheads, as we would say, I would like to work it out. I wouldn't just fight for my way, because let's have a discussion about why we're not seeing the same thing. That's probably my advice, is that, but which wasn't your question what my advice would be, but you said if there was ever a time. I don't think professionally in the musical theatre, in an actual job, that I have had much of that. You know, in other jobs I have had, and as a dance teacher, working in a dancing school, whatever, or different things, or I've had conflict with people in companies personally, but professionally and as a choreographer, a director, no. I like to talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to go, right, tell me why you disagree, and then that maybe we can come to a compromise. So I think that that's important.
Yeah, so communication is the key here.
Yeah, and the best leaders are the best nurturers, the best talkers, and the best problem solvers, not just the dictators. And that works everywhere.
Perfectly, yeah. And how about a collaboration that you're really proud of?
Working with people. Okay, well, there's one person I've worked with the most, and that's a musical theatre performer called Caroline O'Connor, who I did West Side Story with her, I did Chicago with her, we were in Moulin Rouge, the film together, I choreographed her first theatre show that she did about her life, and then we just recently I directed a production of Applause with her, and we just did a Barbra Streisand tribute concert tour with her. So when I say proud of our collaborations, I'm proud of everything we did together, but we constantly come back to work with each other.
Yeah.
So it's that's 30 years next year since we first were working together, and we're good friends. And so I think that's what I'm most proud of, that ongoing professional relationship. I'm proud of most things that I do with people. Yeah,
this is just beautiful, you know.
I love to look back at everything I do and go, wow, look what we were able to do. So, but that's what I'm most proud of, our relationship together,
Okay, yeah, it's very good. Another thing I want to ask is, you know, for musicians and dancers and actors, inspirations and emotions are very important. But sometimes, like, even I struggle to find inspiration with my deadline going like very near. So how do you balance that? And like your inspiration with other practical aspects.
When you have other problems in your life, you mean or like you just don't feel like you can, you know, I mean.
Like other practical things like deadline, like production budgets, like rehearsal times.
Oh, that's interesting, because I mean that's producing.
Oh.
So I like to leave those problems to somebody else.
Okay.
People say to me all the time, because I'm no good. I hate. First of all, I hate emails. I hate the phone, and I don't like questions, except for when it comes to my.
I've been asking you a lot of questions.
No. This is fabulous. I'm talking about myself, Cece. I'm joking. That when it's about. You know, all that sort of stuff. Questions to do with those sides of things. I love questions about the industry. I love questions about my craft. I love to work in a show and people ask questions about the character. But that side of it, I do not. I'm no good at. I'm terrible. But when I thought the question, I thought the question was like, how do you still become creative or as a dancer, or do the things when there's other things on your mind in your life?
Yeah, that's common too.
Yeah, it is, and I sometimes, that's why I always say, in as an actor, singer, dancer, you always have to be a great actor, but also we do this because we get to lose those problems in our craft.
Yeah.
So we're the luckiest, I think, as well, dancers especially. We're lucky that we can block that out and pretend and feel it throughout when we move, and leave our problems behind. And then I also say, and then those problems, you have a choice because we get to free ourselves as artists and
Yes.
dancers, singers, actors, it's our choice whether or not we pick those problems up when we go back through the studios or off the stage, or we can have absolved ourselves of those problems, which is unfortunately we can't do if we're producing in deadlines and budgets, that we can't just dance them off. But I like, we're so lucky as dancers that we get to, even for a short amount of time, forget our problems.
Yes. I feel the same way, because like whenever I have problems, I just sing a few songs and suddenly feel better,
Don't we all? Doesn't everybody do that? Even people that say that they're not singers. I say, well, you're lying. You might not think you're a great singer, but you're a singer, because I know when no one's home, you're singing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you should come to Vietnam. You will see that we do karaoke a lot.
Oh yeah,
we sing a lot in Vietnam.
Isn't that funny? As when we dance and sing and act as a career.
Yeah.
Someone goes, dance for me. No. Sing for me. No. But you do it for a living. It's weird.
I know.
But
that
when you
feeling,
go places where it's part of the culture, it makes it so much easier. Get up and sing.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't sing "I Will Always Love You," but I would sing something a bit easier than that. "Uptown Girl" by Billy Joel, maybe something easy.
Okay. So I know that you're on TikTok and Instagram and other social media networks to keep up with the trends, to be up to date.
Yeah.
So how do you see choreography and, dancing evolve in the future?
It's, who knows, that's unwritten. And that, I think there's so many different styles of dance. There's contemporary dance and modern dance, which is very innovative, and that is about finding the new, and that's not my world, but I find that very interesting, because that's also, gosh, how did they evoke that emotion? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
In the commercial world, it's all dependent on the music scene, the way that evolves. I mean, I think with that scene, it's always everything old is new again, because at the moment it's so drawn on the 80s, 90s sound that
retro thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch sometimes.
It's like fashion cycles.
It is. It's like fashion cycle. Like, who would have ever thought? Anyone told me that wide leg jeans would ever come back in? I mean, I have the pictures. I'm like, I've hidden those pictures. People go, "You're going to get those wide jeans?" No, I will not. But same with music, and so that's where I think in that aspect. And musical theatre, there's there's so many different sounds in musical theatre, and so the dance in that realm, you never know until it's written. You know?
But you just accept everything. New things will come along, and you should just be excited about it.
I love new things. I hate doing the same thing again. I hate repeating. But someone asked me recently if a show that I'd just done, if I would think of redoing it for another company or whatever, and I said no, absolutely not. I've done it. I've created that. It's time to think of something else and do something a little bit different. And that's how I get to stay, because you do the more different things you try and succeed at, the more you can do.
Yeah. So now, looking back at yourself at 20-year-old, would you like to say anything?
Be patient.
Oh, be patient.
Keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, it will happen.
Yeah.
Don't get scared if it's not happening tomorrow, because just be patient and know in your heart. You already know in your heart. But then again, if I'd had that advice, maybe I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has to learn their lesson in their own time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody should know what's coming, because where's
the charm in that?
That's the word, charm. I love that. Where's the charm?
Yeah.
Where's the charm in knowing exactly where you're going to end up?
Yes.
And when it's going to happen. No, that takes away the excitement.
Yeah.
It also, it would calm a lot of people down, but I think that my fears and insecurities got me where I am today, not just my gifts and my blessings.
Yeah. Very good advice. So, be patient, be passionate, and keep up your hard work, and be fabulous.
and research.
And research. Okay.
Know who came before you, and know how they managed to be the most successful people for that many years.
Wow. So much advice, so many good lessons and inspiring stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming today. And, you know, it was a very inspirational conversation, right?
That's nice. Thank
Yeah.
you. And
So-
hopefully I'll get to Vietnam soon.
Of course, we'll invite you.
I'd love to.
Yeah?
Yes.
So that's the deal?
Deal.
Promise?
What do we do? Do we do
Promise
that
this
now?
way.
Forget. There we go.
And this way,
Oh,
okay.
I love that.
Yeah. Promise.
Great. Promise.
You've just witnessed a deal making here.
Bring me to Vietnam. I'll be there.
Sure, of course. So we'll see you soon in
Great.
Vietnam. And I think that's it for our podcast today. And I hope that you guys had a great time watching and learning. And we'll see you in our next episode. Bye.